Hello singing friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Miki here, your friendly neighborhood singing coach. Today I'm going to be doing a patron reaction request to the Wagakki Band with their song Strong Fate and their music video for that song. I really like the Wagakki Band. They're one of my favorite recommendations that has come my way through my Patreon. They're a combination between traditional Japanese art forms and instruments and then more like heavy metal, hard rock music. My patron sent me 2 additional videos as well that I'm going to include links to in the description box below, as well as the uninterrupted video if you want to watch the whole thing in one sitting, because I will be pausing so that my video doesn't get flagged or blocked. But the 2 videos that he sent me additionally were the behind the scenes making of the music video, which is really cool. One thing that I will let you know that I was a little bit vexed about is that it doesn't have English subtitles. It has Japanese subtitles, and then when you use the automatic built-in translation feature on YouTube, it doesn't do a great job of translating what they're saying. I guess maybe they're speaking a little bit fast, so it's a little bit hard to understand what they're saying, but it's still cool to see. You get a sense of like what a high production value video this is. They're filming a lot of it in front of a green screen, and it's a very, very long day for everybody involved. I actually felt a little bit sorry for the band members by the end because they had been there for like 12 hours, and they were all very, very tired, but it looked like they were working really, really hard to put on a great show. And you get to see some other little cute, interesting features, like when they're doing the airbrush tattoos on them at the beginning of the video, which is cool to see. And there is a portion in the middle where they're interviewing the band members, and it really didn't translate well what they were saying, unfortunately, but it's cool to check out anyway. And then the other video that he sent me was an interview with the band. That was quite informative and I really enjoyed it. And the highlights of that for me were the band members all talked about how they were kind of encouraged strongly by their parents to study music when they were younger, and it wasn't like they didn't love it, because they had very strict instructors and it didn't come so naturally to them. But then later on in life, they grew to appreciate having that knowledge, and they all found their paths, and they were able to meld their disparate interests of having like influences from Western music. They talk about liking Led Zeppelin and Celine Dion and Mariah Carey and Disney movie soundtracks, and kind of blending that with their knowledge of traditional Japanese instruments. And that makes for a really unique blend. And they were able to combine stuff that doesn't seemingly on its face go together to create a really, really interesting and unique sound that is the Wagakki Band, and that's what's appealing about them. And so I find that encouraging, because a lot of times we say, oh, I like all these different things and they're so different, and how could I ever combine it to form one cohesive vision? And this is a great example of a band that did just that. They also talk about how they named their tour the Deep Impact Tour, and how they really want to encourage not only international audiences to appreciate Japanese music and traditional Japanese art forms, but also inside of Japan, the younger generation that maybe they haven't been exposed to these traditional Japanese art forms, and that they feel a great responsibility to not only expose people to that, but to do it well so that they don't listen to it once and get turned off and never explore it further. So I thought that that was a really nice explanation of their motivation for naming the tour, and of their larger impetus as a band, of what their vision is and what their raison d'etre is, like what their larger mission is. And I thought that that was it really shows how serious they are and how they've really studied. They're great musicians and how passionate they are about what they're doing. So I loved both of those videos. I thought that they were really informative, and I'm going to link those down below. The other links that I'm going to put down below are how to get me to react to a band or song of your choosing, and also the links to my online self-paced courses and how you can get to take a lesson with me in either singing or piano. All right, so those are all of my announcements. Now we're going to jump in and watch the song Strong Fate by the Wagakki Band. And my patron gave me a little background. He writes, Strong Fate, like Ikusa, is after Wagakki Band's time of covering Vocaloid songs. They also really cranked up the pageantry and theatrics for their videos during this time. When watching Strong Fate, one thing I felt was how in this video, Yuko and Benny had a dynamic similar to the one Anne and Nancy Wilson had in Heart videos from the 1980s. Interesting. All right, so we're gonna check it out. All right, just gonna pause it there for a moment so I don't get flagged. So obviously this is like an epic video, you know, it looks like a movie. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love the grand scale of those huge statues, and you've got so many different shots, you know, different settings, and you've got the aerial photography, and all of it just combines to make a really, really beautiful viewing experience. And then in terms of the music, it matches really well. It also has this like epic cinematic quality to it. And I love the melodies, especially on this, I'm assuming this is the chorus part, the da 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 da. I don't know exactly on one listen the notes, but that's something like that, you know, and it's got a lot of really big interval jumps. She's going through her entire range. She's got a beautiful range, and she's just got such a unique way of singing as well, as I've talked in my other videos about, you know, her traditional style of singing, where she's really utilizing her break and doing some interesting stuff that you don't find in Western singing. So I think it's beautiful, absolutely epic, over the top production, gorgeous experience, both visually and sonically. I'm really enjoying it. So that crescendo, that build, you know, and how the music is swelling and building, and then she had that really cool vocal build, that wah! She's kind of like flipping and almost like yodeling. I can't do it, obviously, but she's doing amazing things with her voice, and it just creates such a nice, like, dynamic build and climax. And now we're gonna have some kind of breakdown. Beautiful. I really, really liked that rhythmic overlay with the vocals, the da 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 da. It's almost like a polyrhythm, right? Because of the way those triplets fall against the underlying rhythm. I really like her vibrato. She's got a vibrato that spans more of a distance than you'll usually hear in like Western music, you know? Like a vibrato is generally like an oscillation between two pitches, but hers is a little bit wider than you would generally hear in Western music. Western vibrato almost stays on one pitch, and it's almost like this revving of an engine, you know, where you're going, but you really hear that oscillation between two pitches when she does her vibrato. Really, really interesting. I like the modulation after that crescendo build, you know, so that the song keeps amping up and keeps building the entire time. It's funny because, you know, I've heard a lot of these Japanese like heavy metal bands because they've been recommended to me by my patrons, and a lot of times there is this like gimmick to it, you know, or like this combination of disparate elements where it's like something like really cutesy, and then they'll have like heavy music and they'll combine it, and some of the combinations work better than others, you know. And I think this one feels like, the Wagakki Band feels like the most authentic combination of things to me, you know, like even though it is very disparate elements, and the idea of taking these like traditional Japanese art forms and instruments and combining them with heavy music seems like it wouldn't necessarily go together. It really does. They found a way to really make it cohesive and everything to fit together and complement each other. And after listening to the interview with their various influences, I can also hear and see like the influence of like Disney music, you know, and like Disney movies, even the way that this is filmed and it's so epic, the way that they incorporate the different cultural elements. It works, you know, more so than other bands that I've seen that feel a little bit more gimmicky. Since I do usually find the importance of lyrics paramount, I'd like to read you guys the lyrics from lyricstranslate.com, translated into English. And they are, one by one, it turns and connects the past. Dots becoming line, it's the voice calling for death. In this endless place, we wait for reincarnation. It never stops, it's a trap when reading. Kotodama creeps up on us, blocking our ears. Dark eyes peer in and ask you about the chain. It counts number of betrayal and screams. We gasp for breath and see that shadows. I hear the lamenting voice crawling on the ground, wandering towards the hand clap, entirely in the reverberation fading. I see the phantom stirring and shimmering. With no reason, it pulls us in and lets us go. A sea of noisy thoughts, strong fate at the end of this world. that sound that severs you. I hear the distorting voice with spitting blood, wandering towards the hands clap entirely. In the reverberation fading, I see the phantom stirring and shimmering. It swallows us in the staining waves. We struggle and entangle in the vortex of destruction. Silent gate. With no reason it pulls us in and let us go. A sea of noisy thoughts, strong fate at the end of this world. Wow, so it definitely seems very, very strong imagery, very dark, you know, it feels like death is coming for you, we're waiting for reincarnation, dark eyes peer at you, you know, screams, gasps, shadows, lamenting voices. It's definitely a lot of dark imagery and makes me feel like this is about death creeping up on you. Very, very poetic, and obviously there's that extra layer of obfuscation that comes from translating. I really like it. I think it's beautiful imagery, and I think it matches the darkness and the epic quality of the video very well. And I'm actually curious to see what your interpretations of the song lyrics and the video are. To me, it kind of looked like the main character was like compelled to commit some kind of ritual suicide in this abandoned temple by spirits or like dark shadows from the underworld. But obviously I'm just projecting my own interpretation onto it. So I would love to hear what you think this video is about. All right, well, thank you so much for the recommendation. I hope that you enjoyed my reaction. I'll see you guys here next time. Until then, take care. And of course, happy singing. Bye-bye.